loved how Sarissa started you guys off the other day. And she started you guys off with, who do you want to brag on? Who's just gone out of their way? Who is just like living up the values? Who's just awesome right now? Is there anybody in your world that you want to brag on? You can unmute yourself. You can raise your hand. And if not, I'll just call you out. I can see your faces. All right, Brandon, who do you want to call out?
This week, I want to shout out Tony Castillo on our San Antonio team. She's in her last week of launch, has multiple clients. She has a pending already. And she just, from day one, her story is interesting because her first official day was that Monday. It snowed and got real crazy. And so she took that time with no electricity and made it work how she could to get her sphere and all that stuff going. But she hit the ground running. So she's really burning the trail right now. So give her a little shout out on that. And it's amazing to see what happens when someone comes in with the right motivation and then leans all the way into the team. It's really something to watch.
I like that. Right on. 2 more people to shout out. Who else has somebody to shout out?
I got somebody.
Ooh, all right. We're ready.
Yeah, so Aliana on our Austin team has been topping our call lists for so long, just dials and dials and hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, and just like putting in the time, putting in the effort. And this week we're looking at 3 pendings for her, which is a career high. And she's killing it and it's paying off. And so happy to brag on her this morning.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. Very cool. One more. Who's got somebody else that they want to shout out?
Hello.
Oh, Kyla. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just want to brag on Alexa. She, our team
Sarissa.
Oh.
Kyla, Sarissa. Your name is Sarissa. Yes.
Was somebody else?
I was looking at the wrong person. I was like, man, that doesn't sound like Kyla's voice. That sounds like Sarissa. Go for it, Sarissa.
I want to brag on Alexa. I did not build a team on prospecting for sale by owners. So, when like you are not an expert at something, it is harder to get the people around you to pick up on that skill set. And she's just decided that that's what she's going to do and that's what she's going to be. And she has set like 4 appointments in the last couple of days on expireds and canceled listings. And I just love that she is like paving a new trail here in DFW for us to go, you know what, like, why aren't we the best at this? And so she is just doing so great. I'm really proud of her.
Oh man, I love that. I love that. Well said. All of it was very well said. And I want to shout out everybody who comes on these calls and not just comes on the calls, but like takes something out of it and then puts it into their business. Everybody that shows their face, really some new people are really, it's very fun to see like all the people who have been here forever. And then the ones that are new to our team and to our world. It's so awesome to see you guys. And then I have to shout out Valencia's like headband. You guys, if you haven't like checked out, she looks good today, you guys. A very, very good look. All right. So for those of you who take notes on Texas stats, here's where we are at, you guys. As of today, we are 140 days into the year, 148 days. I don't have like a calculator right up here. Well, yes, I could. There we go. It's 38% through the year, 38% through the year. And it's probably, remember like the last like month of the year, we're not really doing activities that impact this year. So it's probably like 44% of the year has already gone through, 44% of the sales year. So I'm really actually super excited about today's Power Up based on that. 86 agents. 86 agents is how many agents we have in the Texas area. Those 86 agents, you guys, carrying 66 listings, 342 buyers. 342 buyers. So Bart is going to speak today on just moving some things forward with stuff like that. So I can't wait to hear that because you guys have a lot of freaking buyers to move forward. Just imagine that's 342 pendings you guys have ready. They just haven't found the house yet. speaking of pendings, 261 pendings right now for a total of $108 million in pendings. For the first time in history, we are 100+ million pending right now. And I don't think we're ever going to go back. It's kind of like the 4-minute mile. When somebody does it, it's done, right? That is an average price point of $414,000. You guys have closed 393 properties. That is 3 homes per day, every day this year. It is 21 homes per week, every week this year. Like, guys, like Ben always tells us, National Association of Realtors, like the average agent who's been in the business like 10 years will sell like, maybe 8, 10, 12, depending on the year and how hot the market is. And oh, by the way, like I just read this stat yesterday, Michelle from Boise sent it to me. Only 2% of all real estate agents are here after 10 years. Only 2%. Man, like we are building such an amazing foundation. Just imagine when we stick to something long-term, like the world is ours. I am so excited about that. We have closed $136 million. And our revenue, our gross commission income, this is the number that everybody gets paid off of. This is what Samantha gets paid off of, Marlene gets paid off of, Brandon gets paid off of, right? Like that's an important number because our agents have made almost $2 million this year, like closed, not pending stuff. That's a whole nother story. So really, really good. What I'd love for you guys to do is to take out a sheet of paper or notes or however you do your notes. And the way I would do today is I would probably like kind of separate it into 5 sections. And we have 5 speed topics today. And the best use of your time, I think this morning would be take notes on each one and then pick an idea, just one idea after all of this is said and done, and execute on that part of it, right? So I'll give you like the titles of each talk, and then I'm gonna let everybody run with it. So Bart this morning, he is gonna be speaking on finding solutions for buyers and sellers in today's market. So finding solutions for buyers and sellers in today's market. So when he speaks, that's what you're wanting to take notes on. Then we've got Casey, and he's going to be speaking on winning with different disc styles and his cheat sheet for personalities. Winning with different disc styles and his cheat sheet for personalities. Then we've got Miss Dana, and she is going to be speaking on online review tactics and personal time off strategies. Online review tactics and personal time off strategies. This might be a favorite for us. Sarissa is going to speak on having a vision of where you are going and putting a plan in place to match that. Having a vision of where you're going and putting a plan in place for that. And then Brandon's going to wrap us up with the mindset of mid-year reset. Mindset of mid-year reset. And everybody got to choose their topics, which is really exciting, right? Because we're all like best when we get to like talk about what we want to talk about, right? I know you guys are just like that. All right, so I've got Bart. Hey, Bart, could you introduce yourself to us? Like, what do you do for a living? How long have you been here? Just because not everybody knows you. I don't even know you very well, so I'd love to hear from you.
Hey, Bart Cook. I'm director of recruiting for the Davis team. So today I am Jordan. I'm actually Jordan's sponsor at KW. So I got into real estate in 2008, and then Jordan got in about 7 years ago. And that's how we met, and we hit it off ever since. Oh, good. This is fun.
Yeah, there you are. Can you see yourself real good?
Hitting a golf ball in front of a group of strangers. So Jordan's getting on a plane today, so she asked me to speak. Adelina asked what topic. I felt on the spot, so I just said answers for buyers and sellers. And then right when I sent it, I was like, oh, shit, I got to figure out what the answers are now. So I did what I do in my everyday life and asked the team for answers. And so now I essentially have the family feud answers of how we're getting offers accepted and how we're getting sellers off the fence.
Oh, I love it.
So essentially the number one, and some of these are going to be real obvious stuff, so I'm going to cover it anyway, but number one answer far and away was full appraisal waiver. I get not everybody can, but if you can do a full appraisal waiver, that's what has the most success for us. I get of course, but that is the top thing that everybody said for getting things accepted. Also, we have a big push for Homeward right now, and I don't know how many people know about Homeward and how many don't. Homeward is a lender. They take conventional buyers and VA buyers and they turn them into cash buyers. So all of a sudden you're making a cash offer instead of a VA offer or a conventional offer. So we are using Homeward a lot right now to where we're going out making cash offers instead. And then once the home closes, 2 days later, Homeward sells it to your buyer using the VA loan or the conventional loan.
I love that. Hold on one second. I hope everybody wrote that down. Like, that is such a simple way to explain Homeward. Homeward takes conventional buyers and turns them into cash buyers. Whoa, that's like 5 words. Awesome. Thank you. Keep going.
And with Homeward, if you hit certain production levels, you get a personal concierge for your clients. And I think if everybody's with Place, then everybody should be at the production level that is required. So you get, like we have a Maria, you get a Maria, where Maria is specialized for that person. Instead of being handed off every step of the way, they just have Maria. They have you and they have Maria. It makes it cleaner for them. We are doing Airbnbs for longer leasebacks for buyers. We're finding Airbnbs for them to where they can stay there for the longer leaseback. And we've actually been doing that for a while, but now we're doing it a little bit more. Off-market listings have been huge for us, where we're playing matchmaker with our off-market listings with buyers. And I had an agent ask me just yesterday, well, why would we get a seller less money to go off market? It's not less money. We're getting them top dollar still. It's still, you bend over backwards as a buyer for this person because you don't have to compete now. So that has been huge for us. And I get there are a lot of rules about how you market your off-market properties now. I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not real big on rules. So I'm best friends with a lot of the top listing agents. And so I text them all the time. What do you have coming? This is what we need. And we try and play matchmaker with that too. I've always felt like there may be rules around what I'm not allowed to answer as a listing agent. There are no rules about what I can ask. I'm gonna ask whatever I want. So be friends with the people that are selling houses, man. Facebook ads for specific buyer needs. We've been big into Facebook ads for a while, but now we're doing it into specific buyer needs. Also, Adelina praised Valencia earlier. Valencia is huge for us, and I don't know, she's on the call. I don't like saying nice things about Valencia, but I will for this purpose. Valencia is a machine. She's good at what she does. So if we need a specific neighborhood or a specific buyer need or something like that, Valencia goes in there, shuts her door, nobody hears from her for 8 hours, and she comes back and has a solution for you. We love her. I don't have to pay her, so I believe she's underpaid. She's amazing. Calling clients that bought in the past, 2012, 2013, 2014, anytime. I mean, I got into business in 08, so I just went back to 08, who bought since then and hasn't sold their house. And I'm calling, hey, we have somebody that wants to buy your house. This is what your home is probably worth. Have you even thought about it? I know that you know the market's hot. Have you given this any consideration? For sellers, to get sellers off the fence, we are using Homeward. Also has a buy now without selling option plus knock. If you're not familiar with knock, they make it where you're not contingent. So we are putting people with knock to where they can find the home and buy the home first, and then you have 6 months to sell after that. So we're using knock a lot for those. We're using storage bins for buyers and sellers to help them. For people that have been in for a while, we're helping them either unclutter their house, or if it's long lease backs and they have to go Airbnb or something like that, we're using storage bins for both. We'll get you the storage bin, get your stuff in there however long you need.
What's a storage bin? That's like not like, is that just like, are you talking like storage bins that are like this big, or are we talking like the pod type stuff? What do you guys?
We'll do a pod at your house, a storage bin that is, I mean, we have a storage bin that if it's a small amount of stuff, we can use ours. We have a second one. If it's more stuff, we can use that one. If we need to go get a storage bin for you to sell your $500,000 house, we will go get a storage bin. I mean, we're going to get you the amount of space you need. What do you need a closet, or do you need a garage? What do you need?
Got it. Awesome. Solutions. I like it.
We had people that started getting stressed out about having to be outside their house all day for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for showings. So we've narrowed it down for some people that can't do that, narrowed it down to just the open house time or just a 4-hour time block. to where that's the only time they have to be out. We've gotten sellers a hotel for the weekend, so they don't have to get kicked out of their home and they just go stay at a hotel. Go have a staycation, man. Get out of here. Go do what you need to do. So we've done that for sellers. Also, I know Opendoor is kind of a bad word, but I don't think Opendoor is my enemy. I have one right now where I have the listing at Opendoor's buying it. Opendoor overpays for houses. I'm not mad at that if the buyer needs some sort of convenience. If that's what they're looking for, that's what we'll match them to. Plus, honestly, if they're looking for investor offers, I mean, I'm not going to put them with some investor that's going to give them 80%. I mean, Jordan, me, we have a couple people on the team that'll give them 90%. So if they're looking for investor offers, we're here. We will make it convenient. We'll give you what you need. We'll give you the lease back you need. We will do everything we can to make that work if that's what they're looking for. If they want convenience, we can give them a convenience price. If they want retail, we can give them a retail price. If it is something that isn't priced, we are going to find a solution to get you off the fence. In all honesty, we need listings too bad not to find the solution. We're going to figure out what works for you.
I love that. Man.
That's the top answers.
How to get sellers going. I took a lot of notes. I hope everybody else did too. Very, very good. So just one follow-up. I know we're running long on you, but one follow-up. On the seller side, are you seeing commission compression at all? What do you guys, because you are doing a lot of solutions, are you guys still taking them at 6? Or you haven't taken them at 5, 5.5, 4, 4.5? What are you seeing?
Okay, I'm going to give you a fairly raw answer because I know the script is to say always 6%, always 6%.
Sure, I want the truth.
I agree. But I mean, so far this year, personally, I've taken one that was at 5% because I couldn't get her to budge. And that was the only way we were getting it. And we need listings too bad. So I'm not against it if we have to. But yeah, for the most part, I don't know the numbers, but I know we're over, I assume 93, 94, 95% on 6%. Yes.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Way to go. That was awesome. I hope you guys took a lot of notes and you're taking one thing out of this. Bart, we need to have you on here more often. You make Jordan look good and you make yourself look good. I love it. All right, cool. Well, let's go over to Casey. Hey.
Heyo, how we doing?
All right. What are you sharing this morning?
So this morning, I'm going to talk to you about winning with different disc styles. And I think there's like two camps when it comes to disc. There's like the people who are like, oh, it's mumbo jumbo, just work with people. There's scripts that work for everybody. And then there's people who are like, you know, the disc is everything. I need to know everyone's style and it's your personality and it's who you are, you know, and it's like, when we think about these styles, these are not personalities. This is not who you are deep down. This is like surface level behavior. And that's what all of these little tips that I'm going to share today are based on. Like, this is just going to help you build rapport quickly. And this is something that is proven. These 4 styles have actually been around since like the Greeks, right? So they have some longevity here. I think there's a lot behind this that we can use to get into rapport, and then eventually we can learn more about what's important to people and play more to that. But to start off, I think most people on this call are going to be aware of the disc behavior styles. But if you're not, there's 4 of them. DISC is, it stands for DISC. That's how you spell it. D is driven, right? So these are your headstrong styles. I is influential or interpersonal. These are people. S is steady. So these are people who are even keel, and that's like 60% of the population, by the way. S's. It's good to know how to win with S's. And then C's C stands for compliance. These are people who are gonna like be your detail folks, and C's are only about 3 to 4% of the population. So it's pretty rare that we get one, but we have to be prepared. This is someone who is gonna make sure that you know your numbers. But let's talk about how to win with these folks, right? D's, they're driven. The way that you win with a D is by winning their respect. So a D will, if you win their respect, then all of a sudden you are in their good graces. I would say that When it comes to like body language, you want to be confident, have confident posture, but you don't want to be overly aggressive. And you never want to show anything that a D could interpret as being weak. You need to be to the point, succinct, right? No rambling. D's don't want to hear the story behind something, right? They want to hear the bullet points. Think executive summary when you're talking to a D personality. These are probably folks that would rather you do a 15, 20-minute listing presentation than an hour-long listing presentation, right? And so actually you need to be able to do a killer 20-minute listing presentation where you're not rambling, but you actually hit all the value that you can. And then you ask, what questions do you have? And they're going to have questions, right? I think that something that people stray away from with D personalities is brutal honesty. I think D personalities want you to be very honest, and they actually want you to risk confrontation if you have to in order to serve their needs. They would rather you tell them what you think they need to know than for them to find out you are holding something from them later. Also with a D personality, you will really, really win if you can highlight their strengths without sucking up, right? And highlight your own strengths without bragging. These are people who know their value and may overestimate it. But my favorite script for a D personality is, we love working with winners and you're going to be a great fit, right? That's how I would close my conversation with a D personality. I's, these are people. They are influential. The way that you win with an I personality is by being liked. They have to like you, right? We used to say break the touch barrier with I personalities. They'll love it. Now you need to like pretend to break the touch barrier, right? High fives, fist bumps also can work. Make it fun, right? Be genuine and be funny, like making jokes with I personalities. That'll get you like to the root of winning with them, right? Do things that are unexpected, encourage and elevate the people around you. One thing that people will do, I think, naturally to create humor is self-deprecation. Don't do that. An I personality may be fun, but they are listening to what you're doing and they are actually rating you as a professional, right? So don't put yourself down, build the others around you up, and be genuine. One of the things I like to say for I's, my favorite script is, I can tell working with you is going to be a lot of fun, right? It's assumptive. It's saying we're going to work together. And that's exactly what they want to hear. S's, these are folks who you win with them by winning their trust, right? They are naturally open, but they aren't naturally trusting. And so that's something that you need to make sure that you're coming from a place of respect and concern, right? Express your concerns, but make sure that you're bringing solutions, right? The worst thing you can do with an S personality is bring them problems, right? They're gonna worry about the problems versus you bringing solutions and them feeling taken care of. They want you to lead the conversation, right? This is 60% of the population. They want you to lead, but they also want you to listen actively, right? Ask good questions, let them talk. Actually, what's interesting is S personalities will just talk and talk and talk and talk once you get them to open up, and they'll just give you all the keys to the kingdom, right? And at that point, take good notes and you'll be their best friend for a long time. My favorite script for these folks is, we pride ourselves in world-class customer service and we'll hold your hand throughout the entire process, right? And so just letting them know you're going to be of service and you're going to hold their hand throughout the process. That's really what they want. Last one, C personalities. The way you win with a C is by being right. At the end of the day, it's about the facts, the figures, the math has to add up. Over time, these folks will open up, but at first they will seem very closed, right? They will seem like they're antisocial or not personal, right? These are people that over time they will open up though. And so you want to mirror their body language at first, and slowly you'll start to kind of take the reins personally. But lead with the facts with these folks. These are folks where you want to have your stats, have your figures. You need to know everything that's going on in the neighborhood. Everything you say has to be backed up with something factual, right? And don't forget that these folks are sensitive. So if you're going to deliver criticism, you need to make sure that it is, that you're careful with it, right? And it's metered, right? You don't want to bring, you need to still be tactful because they do have emotions. You just can't see them all the time with a C personality, right? And so I would say the most important thing with a C personality is you can't close them with emotions all the time, right? You really need to lead with incentives. And so like our normal closes don't always work. But having some kind of incentive or some kind of like calendaring close or takeaway close, opportunity close, these kind of things where they can actually see like there's something measurable I'm going to win or something measurable I'm going to lose in order to get started now. But this is the longest one, but this is my favorite script for C's. It's with our level of experience and volume, no one has more models and systems to provide the best product or more market data to inform our process than we do. Right. So
you're gonna have to re-say that one.
Yeah, I know.
Slow it down. I like it though.
It's a lot. And this is more of a mindset with C personalities, right? Because honestly, like scripts and closes don't always work. But the mindset is with our level of experience and volume, no one has more models and systems to provide the best product or more market data to inform our process than we do. And by the way, this is all written down on a cheat sheet that I can share with everybody. By the way, it's all systematized. And I also have a quick ID sheet that I can send out. If people are wondering, like, what are these disc profiles and how important is this? How can I figure this out? I've got both of these resources I can share.
Boom. Yeah, we want that cheat sheet. I'm pretty sure. Let's get that out. Okay. Awesome. Woo. All right, man. Okay. Everybody is like, that's gold. Everybody's happy. Okay, Casey, you did your job today. Way to go. Earned another week. Just kidding. We love you, Casey. You're awesome. Dana, where are you, Miss Dana? Let me find you on my screen because
I'm right here.
All right. Oh, there you are. I gotta there's a lot of people. There's 83 people. You guys are like alive and well. Here we go. I'm gonna mute, not mute. I'm gonna remove you, Casey, but whoa, I do not want to see me. There you go. I want to see you, Dana. All right. Go, girl. Tell us what you're talking about today.
So I guess a little bit about me. I've been in the business for 10 years. So some of this is based off of I did this well in the beginning and it's taken years for it to pay off. And I know several of us are newer in the business. So if we can create some good habits now, it will pay off immensely in the end. So one of the things that I didn't probably do this my first year, but after I got my feet wet, I started sending out online reviews. There'd been several things 10 years ago that I would end up doing for free. Like I'd go on a listing appointment and we would decide it's not the right time to list. And then those people would feel like I owe you something. I'm like, you don't owe me anything. And they're like, yes, I do. I'm like, well, how about this? How about you give me an online review? And they always are like, oh yeah, no problem. So I started when people felt like they owed me something. I'm like, well, here's something simple you can do. And then I would send them the links to like the realtor.com profile, the Zillow profile, the Google profile I created a little bit later, Facebook, that sort of thing. And so now I do this with my buyers and sellers, but I don't necessarily do it at closing. With buyers, there's a lot that can go wrong. There's a lot of emotion and frustration. So the buyers, I intend to try and get them to give me a review after we win the offer, but before the inspection, because the inspection, they tend to get a little bit frustrated. If there's an appraisal, there's usually some frustration with that. So I try to get the review before that point. So then I'll say, hey, when their emotions are high and they're excited, I'll say, hey, can you do me a favor? I'm working on building my presence online. And I'm going to send you some links for some reviews. And when you have a moment. And then a lot of times I'll give them some key points in that email. Like, for example, if they're a buyer, Dana helped me win an offer and we were competing against 30 other buyers. Or with sellers, I'll say something along the lines of, we had 30 offers the first weekend on the market and we sold over asking price, and just little tidbits like that. Something new that the online reviews allow you to do now is pictures. A lot of them allow you to like upload pictures. Like if you're at a restaurant, you can upload the picture of your food and that sort of thing. So if the review happens to happen after closing, the closing picture that you take at the title company, all fun and happy, I send that to them in the email and say, here's some pictures if they allow you to upload. And that tends to make it a little more personal. And I think over time that'll help. And the reason I find all this important is because in the last year, I can think of 3 specific listings I've taken where they were phone calls and they were come list me's. Some of them were from like Brivity ads, and before they call me, like some of these didn't even register on the account. Like they see the ad and they look me up on all the reviews, and then they call me and say, hey, come list me. And I'm like, I don't know you from Adam. Can I ask where did you find me? Because I'm trying to see if it was one of my friends that referred him. They're like, no, we just found you on Google. And so that's paid off very well over time. And then a lot of times,
hold on, let me pause on that just for a second. I just want to make sure if anybody's tuned out that they tune back in for this, because hey guys, like when you have any kind of lead, whether and not just it could be a Brivity lead, it could be an agent referral, it could be like somebody from your sphere referring you. The first thing that people do, I mean, we all hold this like 24/7. You look that person up. And if they can't find anything about you, if you've never taken time to ever do anything, and that's not on the team or anybody else, that's on personal responsibility, you guys, right? Dana, awesome point that people are looking us up online, and our credibility, like outside of the team, you want to have individual credibility, not just team credibility. Cool. I like that. Sorry, keep going. I wanted to interrupt and make sure people didn't zone out.
That was the next thing that I was going to say is, even when I'm going on a listing appointment from a referral from a friend, 9 times out of 10, they've looked me up. And even if I'm competing for a listing appointment, like I went on a listing appointment this week and I was competing against 3 other agents, and they kind of insinuated that they've made their decision based off of the online reviews, or their research online is how they worded it. And, but they're going to finish their interviews and go from there. However, I have a good feeling I'm going to take that listing, and this doesn't happen overnight. I mean, I've been in the business for 10 years. So if it's something that you can kind of make into a habit now, it'll pay off in the long run for sure. The other subject I was going to discuss, because this one's kind of heavy on my heart, be sure and take personal time. And when you're taking personal time, be present in your personal time. When you're on a date with your spouse, keep your phone like away and off, that sort of thing. Because when I was new in the business, I worked 60, 80 hours a week. I put in a lot of time for a lot of years. And then a few years later, I am burnt out and didn't care about anything. And so now I try to make sure that one of the days on the weekend that I'm pretty much away from my phone, unless like I'm expecting to deal with something and kind of plan to watch for it. And then there's usually 1 or 2 weeknights a week that I have for hobbies. I'm a big shotgun shooter, so I make sure that I've squeezed that in, because if not, and I'm working several nights during the week and all weekend, and then you work during the day all week, all of a sudden your attitude changes. Because a few weeks ago, I worked Saturday and Sunday, the whole week prior, the whole week after, and by middle of the following week, my attitude was wrong. And so being sure that you have scheduled personal time so you don't get burnt out is very, very important.
I love that. And I love you bringing this up because you're someone that's part of that 2% club. You've been in the business like 10 years, right? And like, there's not somebody like, oh, theoretically, I think you should do this. I love that. And I know you're a hard worker, you guys. So when you hear personal time, I want you to hear it through the filter of like, you know, a regular job, if you worked anywhere in the world, would be like 40 hours a week. That's just normal, you guys. That's not like anything crazy. Like, don't kid yourself, right? But I know some of you guys out there are like Dana, and you're putting in 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Like, your cup is getting so empty. And I love what you said, the be present in your personal time, 1 to 2 nights a week for hobbies. Like, remember like what makes you happy and do those things. You might not be shooting anything like Dana is, but you might be, I don't know. Ben sent me a picture last night. Hold on, I'll show you what Ben was doing. Hold on, because we all take this seriously. He was like wood carving. This was last night. So everybody does this, you guys. Now, if you're putting in 20, 30, 35 hours and you think that's full time, that's not what we're talking about. Like, you got to step it up. But you people out there, 50, 60, 70, 80 hours, killing it, take a page from Dana's notebook. Right.
Well, thanks for having me today.
Oh, always a pleasure, Dana. Always a pleasure. I love it. I love it. Speaking of ladies, let's go to another female leader, Sarissa, ma'am. Let me find you on my screen. I know you're not hard to find. Hi. All right. Oh, there you are. Yes. Well, you're hard to find when there's a lot of people.
Well, and I switched from my phone to my computer because my computer decided to shut down and take 20 minutes to restart. So, you know.
Always fun.
Thank God for 2 forms of technology. Okay, I feel like Dana teed me up so well because this week we actually had Kyle Taylor on the team share, and he brought up something that many people struggled with, and that is just feeling like you have a purpose, or like, what is my purpose? And so I feel like Dana really teed this up well. So many people said that they struggled with just that concept. And I'm not saying that every one of us wakes up and goes, my purpose in life is to be the best real estate agent ever, and it's all tied around that. Like, that's not it. Most of us don't even have a big why. Ben struggles with his big why. Dana Ramey struggles with her big why. And some of you have a lot of clarity around that, and others just don't. And I want to tell you, like, that's okay. And what we can say, though, is that the purpose, if you think about the bold law, the purpose of business is to fund the perfect life. So most of us can think about, well, what would that perfect life look like? Like, that is an easier concept for a lot of us. Is, man, if I had the perfect life, it would look like whatever. And it's going to be okay that it's different for all of us. And so when I started thinking about that, I was like, well, are we all really clear on the vision of what that looks like? Because my pastor said it this past weekend. He said, if you don't know where you're going, you're going to end up maybe somewhere you don't want to be by accident. Right? If you don't know where you're going and you're not super clear on that, you're going to end up somewhere you maybe don't want to be by accident. So you guys, a lot of you know that a couple of years ago, I think it was 2018, so probably 2.5 years ago, I got a lot of clarity on the roles I had in my life. What was my vision for me as a mom? What was my vision for me in a relationship? What was my vision as a leader? What was my vision as a giver? So I had to figure out, like, what are my different roles? I have a lot more roles in my life, right? But I wrote down, like, what specifically did that look like? And that's something I can move towards, because there's clarity. Even if I don't have, like I said, this huge sense of purpose as the realtor, whatever, bomb.com, whatever, right? Like, I know what it looks like to be a really great mom, or I can at least envision that. I can envision what it looks like to be a really great spouse. I can envision what it looks like to be a great leader, a great realtor, etc. So I just started thinking, well, man, maybe we just need to get really, really clear on that vision of what our life should look like, or could look like, or would look like. And that clarity helps us to get up every day and move forward, even if even if this sometimes just feels like we're selling homes. And so then I thought about that bold law. If you plan to fail, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So where are we failing to plan, right? Where are we failing to plan what that looks like in the future? Someday I want to be 50% of the time in Colorado on a really beautiful property. Is the life the people I'm bringing into my world, is the vision I have creating that life, or is it taking me further away from that? So, so then I got to thinking, well, man, do we have a plan for our life, but also have we looked lately at our plan we made for our business? Y'all, we freaking all made a plan last October. Some of you I've sat down with again in the last couple of weeks to look at your plan, make sure you had one. Newer people, make sure those of you have even looked at yours, because if we literally look at our plan more often, we would realize it's a really simple steps. We don't have to do all the things. We just have to do the things that we said we would do, which will actually move us forward really pretty quickly. Ben always says, I love when he says this. He says, people want what I have, but they aren't willing to do what I did to get what I've got. I'll say that again. People want what he has, but they aren't willing to do what he did to get what he's got. And some of you may not want to be Ben. That's okay. But maybe some of you want to be like Elizabeth or Maria or, Brandon or Casey, right? Like some of you have maybe that's who you go, I want to be like that. And so are you willing to do what they're doing to get what they've got? And we don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? We have a business model that says, if you want to be successful, do 2 open houses, prospect daily. We all know that 20 calls a day or 20 conversations a day will solve any real estate financial problem you have. And we try to overcomplicate this, and it's not. So when I looked this past week and I was like, you guys, I'm just going to call Dallas out. I was like, you guys got to be freaking kidding me. None of you have open houses scheduled for this weekend. It's freaking Tuesday. Like, what's the deal? Do you think that that's not going to cause you to be successful? Get on it. And like, they were all like, oh, gee, right? Like, because we're serious. We didn't say like 2 is a nice thing to do. Like, no, 2 is the minimum that's going to cause you to be successful. You want to be a badass like Gail Smith, go do 26 in the middle of December in Washington State. 2 is like the minimum standard. And I'm going to wrap it up here, but like, that's the plan, right? And if we're not putting those in our calendar and doing those things, we're going to end up somewhere we don't want to be by accident. All right.
I love that. I love your soapbox, by the way. We need to have you on it a little more often. And I will say, you guys, like, as far as I remember back in the day, I mean, this is probably, I don't know, 2017, 2018. I think one of the very first things that Ben said was, Sarissa, write out what you want for your life, because that's the only way we're going into business together. Because what's the point of any of this if you don't have a vision for where you want to go with it? And I remember you writing out, like, what does it mean to me to be like a great mom? What does it mean to me to be a great spouse? What does it mean to me to be an investor, right? Like, what does that all look like? Oh, I love it. And by the way, you guys, it works because the Sarissa that I see today is like doing those things, you guys. And by the way, I bet her like vision got even bigger, because you don't have to see the entire staircase. You need to see the next 2 steps. Thank you for sharing this morning. That was awesome. Right on, right on. Brandon, you want to wrap us up, mister?
Yes. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. And as is common on our team, Sarissa said Dana teed her up. She pretty much teed me up. Half of the things I was going to talk about was pretty similar on that. So I'll touch briefly on the mid-year reset. Adelina actually took us to the mid-year retreat with Jay Papazan a couple years ago. And so the middle of the year, I think, for myself and a lot of people, it's a very obvious timeline to adjust our plans, to see where we stand for the year. It's like halftime, right? If we're a sports fan. Chris talked about this a couple weeks ago, or maybe a month or 2 ago. So I know a lot of people, the New Year's resolution fairy dust is probably worn off a little bit. And so we're coming into June. The things we're pending under contract now is going to put us right at half of the year, right at the end of June. And so a lot of the things that Sarissa talked about, very relevant, but very simple, right? Like our model is supposed to be, you know, something we could duplicate, something we could draw on the napkin. And so just briefly on that, take a look at where you're at now with your goals, get with your coach, get with your TL, and see where your numbers are for the first half of the year. And not just closings, right? Because it's easy to look at the wrong things when we're feeling like we're either a rock star or a loser, right? Look at the contacts, your conversion and appointments. How many appointments did you go on? How many people are you talking to? Those are the very, I think, easy or simple, but not easy gaps that we could look at to see where our business trajectory is halfway through the year, right? More of what I wanted to talk about today is the other half of this mid-year reset, right? And that's in our mind. I think for our systems and models, it's easy. We track everything, right? Data eliminates drama. We hear that a lot. The path is in the math. We've heard that one recently as well. That's really cool, right? But as we get into this year, the things the first half of the panel talked about today are ways for us to win in this market because it's hectic, it's new. If you just got into business, this is your only experience. It's crazy buyer's market, crazy buyer situations in a crazy seller's market. But something that we talk about in San Antonio a lot, and I love where Sarissa kind of took the end of her time. We talk about just calling it what it is, right? So it's an accountability measure. You know, if we didn't set enough appointments, call it what it was. Was it because you had something come up? Was it because you're struggling with something, you know, health-wise, or were you just lazy this week? That's I think all fair questions, and it's not personal when we talk about it in San Antonio, but it's been very helpful. Because when you call it something that it isn't, is when you make excuses, when you feel bad, it gets hard to find out where the honesty lies in your business. And so what I wanted to talk about today was something that I'm going to kind of recycle from the Win, Make, Give podcast. But as we're looking in our business on the numbers side, I would couple that with real honest questions within yourself to see, you know, where that lies in your activities and your mindset. Some questions that I ask myself when I'm trying to readjust goals and questions that we ask about in coaching. Am I being accountable to my commitments? Very honest question, right? So one that we don't ask ourselves very often. Am I cut out for this? And I mentioned this question specifically because it's very hard to tell sometimes, right? We come into the place world. There's people pouring in. There's maybe mindset concepts that you listen to a Chris call on Friday and it's like, dang, you know, he really put some things into perspective for me. At least that's the way feels like going to church sometimes. I walk away with some really good clarity. But in my notes I have here, am I cut out for this internal versus external? Well, how do I feel I'm doing? What is the data saying that I'm doing? And what are my people around me telling me, right? A lot of times we have outside of our organization, you know, where's our energy coming from? Are we winning? Is everybody saying we're winning and we feel like we're losing maybe because someone outside of our circle doesn't understand how hard this is and what the effort it's going to take to, you know, hit our goals, right? Our goals and some of the things Sarissa talked about, or that anybody talked about on this call, really, the growth and the success is right on the other side of doubt and failing forward, right? So, you know, find it not strange if you feel uncomfortable right now as you're readjusting wherever you want to take the rest of the year, the next 5 years, right? How consistent is my effort? That's another question, right? It's very easy to be motivated for a day. It's very hard to be consistent over and over and over again, right? Who's talking to me? Who's lifting me up and who's bringing me down, right? That's a question I ask a lot. And as a leader, who am I bringing up and who am I putting down, right? That's something that I have to think about. Where's my energy going and who's bringing the people in our organization, in our world, who's bringing them their energy? I think about that a lot. It's just something hard that we're doing. It's if you've never felt like quitting before, and we'll get to that. Ben said on the podcast, you know, if you don't feel like quitting, you probably aren't pushing yourself hard enough, right? I think after 30 to 60 days in this business, in our world, you pretty much have a good idea that this is pretty tough, but it could happen, right? With enough teamwork and dedication. Where's my DNA and where I stand right now? That's a tough one, right? What have I done all year that's led to some success that I have? What have I done all year that's led to some of how I feel right now, right? Have I been putting in the work 100%? If you have, I can guarantee you, and I want to make an effort to say this, I've been blessed to be on the Austin team as it started up. And I've been blessed to be on the San Antonio team as we're launching in this market about 14 months in now. I still have not seen anybody show up to our organization, put in the work 100%, lean in, ask for help, be annoying, get in there, get dirty, and not find success. It just doesn't happen in our system. And I haven't seen it. Anyone who shows up and asks themselves these questions, leans in and buys into the model, I've seen tons of people thrive. It's very powerful to see. And it's one of the reasons I moved to San Antonio was to hopefully be a steward and a conduit to this type of availability of success. Right. And then I always end these questions with, what am I grateful for? Right. Most of us in this organization, we start our days with this, right? Where's my gratitude? And that helps kind of ground me, because these questions, the answers aren't always great. The answers are sometimes hard to feel and to hear and to answer within yourself, right? Maybe you're talking to your coach and you're asking each other these questions. But the gratitude helps round it out for me, because at the end of the day, I already knew this would be hard. It's harder than I thought it would be. But we have a lot of control over where we're going to end up going as long as we don't quit, right? All the growth is in the difficulty. Everybody talks about this. Is a very common thing within our culture. We know this, right? It's supposed to be hard because we're doing things that, Adelina alluded, 2% success rate over 10 years. That's not easy, right? That's hard. The 2%, you're looking at them. They're on this call. It's all of you, right? It's people across the country that we get a chance to grow with, suffer with to some degree, and then really succeed with. So I'll go through these quickly unless Adelina needs to kick me off this call. Some of the reasons why Ben mentioned that we quit. So if we're still good on time, I'll push forward there, partner. We good on that?
Yeah, go for it. Wrap us up with why people quit.
Yeah. And this doesn't necessarily have to be, and the way I was thinking about this when I listened to this episode again, I've listened to it probably 5 to 10 times. It doesn't necessarily need to be something major that you quit, right? Like quitting your business, quitting, a relationship. This could even be now, as we're tying this into the context of our mid-year reset. Why do we quit on our goals? Why do we quit on ourselves every day or some days, right? And we need to get a rebound. So just some things to think about, and maybe ask yourself some questions as you're reestablishing where you want to take the next 6 months of the year. Number one, Ben and Chad talked about this. We get bored. We get bored with what works and we start something that doesn't work, right? Maybe we're killing it in expireds, and then all of a sudden we're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to, start going to the fair and handing out flyers. And maybe that's not the best bet, right? But we've all been bored before. Lead generation is very monotonous, but what we know is that the things we do consistently are probably the things most other people aren't doing. It's a reason why we are having the level of success as a team as we do have, because we do the hard things consistently. It's hard to do it every day, but are we getting bored? That's a question to ask ourselves. Or do I want to quit my goal because I'm bored, right? Fair question to ask, I think. We hit a ceiling. For new agents, you continue to hit, I think through launch, you probably break through 5 or 6 ceilings, just because the first ceilings, how do I have a phone call sometimes, right? But maybe sometimes we start getting a little busy is where I see it. We do the right things, we get busy, and then we're like, oh no, like I don't think I could go more than this. And in reality, your rubber band could probably stretch a lot bigger, right? And my world has opened up a lot just by not quitting, right? Being a part of the team that we are and not giving up. That's, if you're hitting a ceiling, it could be a training thing. It could be a resource thing. It could be a mindset thing, right? Talk to your coach, talk to your TL, and set up that plan to bust right through that thing. That's what we're here to do, is to break through ceilings, right? And many people on this call, the ceiling's extremely high, right? We could learn a lot from them just by talking to them. The third reason they talked about people quitting is they feel financially stressed. I think this is a big one. The thing I love about real estate, though, and this model is it's very easy to make up ground once you find those gaps, right? The gaps that Sarissa's talked about, the gaps that I've brought up so far today. Small things, right? What does your calendar look like? How many conversations have you had? How many appointments? You start filling those small gaps through accountability and leaning back into good habits. I think Maria has 17 pendings right now, right? There's, Daniel in Dallas, I know he has a lot of them. DJ, Alicia and Andrew, like you could make up some ground and make up that financial stress. but it's something to ask, right? And the thing that I really like that Ben talked about is that usually financial stress, people want to quit for that, but it's a long-term problem where we tend to look for a short-term solution, right? And that's not always, it's not always maybe the best way to look at it, right? If you've had, 5 or 6 years of poor financial planning, and now you're in this situation where you could make an absorbent amount of money, it doesn't happen overnight, but sometimes, Chad mentions on the podcast, he gave up a business to go be a waiter because he knew he could make money being a waiter. And in the short term, maybe, but is that in relation to the goals you set for yourself last fall? Is that the ideal life? And is that the path to your preferred future? A short-term solution for a long-term problem? Or maybe we start talking about, some financial literacy, right? Ben talks about this. We have the Win, Make, Give wealth building series. And maybe we get on the right track there, tie that into our business goals, re-tie it into our business goals and push forward, right? The fourth thing he talked about, we experience failure. This is a big one. And I really love what they did with the podcast this year is really turning that on their head. And Ben had this conversation with us recently. And so has Chris, and probably every TL on this call. We've probably all had a group meeting about this, right? Fail forward, fail fast, fail forward, right? We talk about that all the time. But where they really took it in the podcast this year is that the biggest winners, the winners at the highest level, have failed the most. It's not because they never fail, right? So don't find it strange if you feel like you're failing. Ask around, right? The people on the team will tell you if you're doing great or you're not doing great, right? That's what we owe each other, right? Accountability is in our values. And I think it's okay to feel, Chris mentioned this 2 weeks ago. It's okay to feel new. It's okay to feel like you're failing, right? Let's talk about it. It's very easy to get in our heads and let ourselves down and quit on ourselves. It's very hard for us to quit on other people, right? And there's a reason that we have this collective culture. So I would ask yourself that question, right? Am I really failing? I think that's a great question because when you're new, maybe in your first year or two, it's hard to know where you stand, right? That's why we come back to goals every week on your 411. That's why we're talking about this, on a quarterly basis, and probably in the middle of the year now, for sure on New Year's, right? Everyone has that New Year's, kind of what's going on. But there's times that we could come back to that and, are you winning when you think are you winning when you're really, do you think you're winning when you're really losing? And are you losing, the death of 1,000 razor blades? It's ask around. The people on the team won't lie to you. Everybody wants to win, and they want you to win, right? The fifth reason, and this one could sometimes be more of a condition, as, we have other stuff going on in life. What they called it on the podcast was, we have personal issues, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Right? Life is life, and it tends to hand us whatever it hands us sometimes. Family, maybe another business that you have, your health. But what they mentioned on the podcast was, is there something going on? This was the question that Ben prompted the audience. Is there something else going on in my life right now that is making me want to quit in another area of my life? He said a lot of times things will come up in our lives where we feel like there's no escape and we have to give up. Maybe our business, maybe our health, maybe something else, when that's the most consistent thing we have in our life, right? Some people I know, they live by their fitness routine. Some people, they live, by their spirituality, right? And a lot of times it's like, well, I got to figure out this problem. I don't have time for church anymore. I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to lead generate and build my business. When in reality, and sometimes, by the way, that could be true. I think that's totally, there's situations, plenty of them where that's a fact. But coming back and really thinking about that, right? What is taking up my time? Is this something, maybe it's not family related, right? Is this something I could give less time to so I don't have to have so much stress or energy from a negative perspective, right? But it all comes back to asking yourself these questions, right? Why am I feeling this way? Where's my time going? And what can I eliminate? What can I not eliminate? The next one that they talked about, and I think, realtors we're pretty guilty of this, right? We talk about wealth building businesses, residential, commercial, investments, buying properties with each other, buying properties with our family, right? But undisciplined pursuit of more is what he mentioned. And I would kind of love to tie this back to what Dana said about making free time for yourself, personal time, and being intentional about that. I think, she mentioned she's been in the business for 10 years. So none of this stuff is overnight, right? But I think you get to be a lot more intentional about the things you want to add to your calendar when you're intentional about the things that are already in your calendar, right? I'm guilty of not always, following my calendar, but I don't not do the work, right? So I end up doing the work at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night on the weekends. That's my fault, right? If I were a little more intentional in my calendar, I'd probably be able to take some more time off, or maybe go look for an investment property, more frequently. So I wanted to tie this back into, the life balance and the integration difference that Chris talks about, right? And I think the undisciplined pursuit of more doesn't have to be more businesses, starting a whole new life. I think sometimes this could even be that personal time, right? We get into this business, and there's a lot of time that we have to put towards it, especially if you haven't ran a business before, or you're not already in real estate to some degree or magnitude. It takes up a lot of our time. Running a business is, hard, like we all know. I think sometimes too early, we want to add things in like that, right? Like we might have some stress. We might not be working out as much. We might not have as much family time. I think in the beginning, that's why Chris talks about integration. We have to work these things back together after we kind of get our feet wet, like Dana mentioned, and really put that vision forward, like Sarissa mentioned, right? The last thing they talked about was the fear of missing out, FOMO. I think we all have this. I have this all the time when there's a training going on that I can't get to, or somebody on this panel speaking, or a team member's doing something. But where they were tying this in was a lot of times, because we have FOMO, we want to quit what we're doing or give away a large portion of that time to add all these other things to our plate. So this kind of talks, the undisciplined pursuit of more. They tied those two things in together. And I think that's a little tricky. I think people might want to quit because they feel like they're missing out, and they want to add all these extra things, right? They want to be, a business owner, and they want to be a triathlete, and they want to be, a cook or something like that, because their friends are doing it, because their family said they should give up on real estate or give up on that health routine or whatever it is. So a question that I think they prompted was, are those other things that you feel like you're missing out on, are they in line with the goals that you set for yourself last fall? That preferred future that you have for the rest of your life, the preferred future you have for your family, right? The preferred future you have for your teammates. I think it's a question to ask, right? Just because you're missing out on it now doesn't mean you're going to miss out on it later. A lot more hard work up front gives you a lot more time to be intentional for all those other things later. And to wrap this up, because this is way more than 5 minutes, so I appreciate it if you're still on the call. I think everybody on this call has heard this once or twice, and you felt it probably every day. It's being uncomfortable, right? And so, get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and really ask yourself these questions. Why do I feel uncomfortable? And I think that will really help you do what Sarissa mentioned previously, is now's a great time of the year to cement your why. If you don't know what it is, start talking about it, start looking for it. If you do know what it is, reestablish your roots in that, and then we can come together and make a plan that's really going to be fruitful. Will it be easy? No. Are you going to doubt yourself? Probably. Will you want to quit sometimes? Of course, right? But the people on this call are the ones that haven't quit yet. It's the 2%. And you can't have the things that Ben has or whoever your role model is without doing the things that they wanted to do. And so now's a great time of the year to ask yourself those questions. Appreciate it. The time. Thank you.
Dang. You should have given me a heads up that you were prepared to do a whole power up. Noted. Couple things come to mind as we wrap up. Guys, we are halfway through the second quarter. And so what I love to do is if you guys noticed last quarter, we did it again. We got all the Texas leaders to kind of give us a halfway point, chat, right? It's our little halfway, what'd you call it? Mid-year reset, halftime, whatever. Right. And then we have Ben come on at the beginning of the quarter to launch that quarter with us. Right. But really, man, speaking of gratitude, I have gratitude for every single person on our call. You guys, you heard it over and over today. You guys are the 2%. You guys are the 2% that, not the top 20%. You guys are the top 2%, right? In my mind, every single day. And then huge gratitude to everybody who presented today. You guys, they're running businesses just like you. They have a lot of responsibility just like you, right? This is another extra thing that I'm asking them to do, right? And huge shout out to, I don't know if you guys noticed how well they present. I noticed it. Like even from last year to this year, holy crap, you guys are really good presenters. And number two, how much they care about pouring into our people, how much they care. I mean, this is a special place, pun intended. Guys, can't wait to see you guys next week. It's going to be good. We have a guest speaker next week. We got Valencia the week after. It's going to be great. And then we're going to have July 1st. Ben is going to kick off Q3 and it's coming fast. So we want to wrap up May really, really well. Have a great weekend, you guys. See you next time. Bye.
Thank you guys. That was awesome. Have a great day.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.